Everybody, welcome to Brighter. So one of the facts that many people just don't realize is that Tesla's Model Y is the #1 best-selling car in China. And there's actually 599 car models in China. So today we're going to take a closer look at which car makers have grown, which one have fallen since last year, and there's definitely a number of surprises to come here. And we have Brian White with us. He is an analyst and he has his own YouTube channel called MyTeslaWeekend. Thank you so much, Brian. Appreciate you.
Glad to be here. I'm excited to see the chart. I'm excited to see the surprises. I have an idea. I might know what a few of them are.
Oh, I know you do because you study China and you actually lived in China. And so that's why you're a perfect person to ask these questions. So let's get started with Roland Percher. He's got this, he's on at Pololi on X, and he kind of reports quite closely the stats of what's happening right now. And he's repeating now that the Model Y is actually the top selling car model in China, not only in the last month of the quarter, which is what was happening recently, but this quarter as well. It did so in August, the second month of the quarter, and it's very likely it will happen in September as well. So in August, Model Y hit 50,955 sales, and the second model, which is the BYD Chin Plus, came in at 36,734. And again, he's thinking that the Model Y will be the best-selling vehicle again in September. It's already sold 31,000 vehicles in September with 1 week left. So this was obviously a week ago that he presented this. Then he presented this chart, which was really nice. And you can see that the Model Y is the #1 best-selling car and the Model 3 in 22nd place. Before we dive deep into this chart, Brian, did you have any comments on what I just mentioned?
It's surprising to me that this is one of the most expensive cars on the list, and it's #1. That blows my mind.
Let's take a look at this chart. So there are 599 car brands in China. And this is a table that shows the retail sales in China from January to August. And you're comparing the green is 2023 and the, what is that, yellow orange, the orange is 2022. So you can see that the ones where the green is higher than the 2022, that means that they grew for this year. And then the ones that are kind of lower, it means that they're losing share, right? So on the far left is Tesla Model Y, and the far right is Tesla Model 3. That's the 22nd place. Model Y, shockingly, based on its price point, it still is the #1 best-selling vehicle in China. And it grew significantly from the yellow, this keeps only, it's the orange to the green here. And next is a BYD Plus, the Chin Plus. Then you got the Nissan Sylphy. Then you got the BYD Song Plus. Then you got Volkswagen, and then the Dolphin, and then Yuan Plus. And lots of BYDs up in the top here. And that's one of the reasons why BYD is almost catching up to Tesla in total sales, because they have so many different segments. But what I just want to point out here quickly is that if you look at the ones that are really falling behind, it's got the Nissan, which has fell from last year. You got the Volkswagen one. Oh my gosh, this Wuling, which is I think the $5,000 car, is falling significantly, which is weird. And then Toyota Corolla and the Honda. Any thoughts on this, Brian?
No, you're covering it. The thing is, all of if you could look at all of these different cores, which one would you actually want? Now, I know a lot of these names don't sound familiar. A VW Levita is just a four-door. It's just a sedan. Which is the other one? The VW. There's another VW Passat. It's a sedan. They're all very basic cars. And then you've got the most expensive one on this list is the most popular. And the Wuling at $5,000, you would think that that would be the one that would still be going strong, but it just isn't. People are, I don't know, maybe they grew up and don't want a toy anymore. But even beating out the Camry and the CRV, those are global big sellers, and both of them are struggling to even maintain sales levels.
Yeah, my understanding is that this Wuling is obviously a very cheap car, but it's not very high quality, right? So
No.
maybe it's people are not liking it, and maybe the prices of other cars have gone down lower, to the point that it's easier to just pop back up there. But you know, every one of these has their own segment, right? And that's why it's like you know, it's not like you don't have to be the best selling car necessarily. You just need to find your place and do very, very
Right.
well. And it's just odd to me. How is it, Brian, that the Model Y is it's like people don't understand this. They're the number one best selling car in China. And they're priced at the $50,000 US mark higher than everyone else. They're actually competing against a Zeekr, which is another kind of premium level. But they are basically, of all these 599 brands there, they are in the top three most expensive offering at this point.
Well, and interestingly, if you look at the Model 3, its sales have also gone up pretty substantially over last year. And I don't know what to attribute that to. I guess part of it would be that last year the factory was down for a good chunk of a quarter. So maybe that's it. But it's pretty crazy to see that we know the Model Y is big in the US. We know it's big in Europe. Certainly, some countries it is the number one car. But to see it in in the Chinese market, where you would think the cost would be a deal breaker. Now, it's worth pointing out that the Model Y is cheaper in China than it is anywhere else in the world, I believe, but it is still substantially more expensive than almost anything on that list. Certainly in the top, what did you say, 22 cars. And you've got to just imagine there's another 573 models out there
Mhm.
that didn't make the list.
Yeah, so Tesla Model 3 is 22nd out of the 599. And like you said, it grew from last year, 2022. What do you think is going to happen with the Highland that's been redesigned Model 3 and it looks like it's just out it's really selling like crazy out there.
It's going to, I think we're going to see the end of quarter push on Highland next quarter. I think it's going to, the line's going to move a little bit faster, which means they can build more, which means they can sell more. We already know demand is strong for this new model, both in Europe, where its factory is supplying, and in China, it's obviously going to be even more popular. If the old Model 3 was more popular and the new one is this much better, it's going to be crazy.
And then if we take a closer look at the European brands, only a few of them are actually doing better than they did last year. The rest of them are failing. So Nissan is lower than they sold last year. Volkswagen lower, right? Volkswagen version here is a little is higher than what they sold last year. Um, and you got Toyota Camry is lower than what they sold last year. You got the Toyota Corolla lower than last year. The Volkswagen uh, Passat looks like it's higher than it did last year. Mercedes is higher. Honda's lower. Then you got another Volkswagen that's higher, and another Volkswagen that's kind of just a little bit lower. What's your thinking
So
of what's going to happen? And this is the signs to come.
interestingly, what you can see from the German manufacturers is a mixed bag, but what you see from every other non Chinese Asian manufacturer, which would be Toyota, Honda, and Nissan, all the Japanese brands are down. So that's. I think it shows that their lack of commitment to EVs might be what's hurting them. It could be. They certainly don't have much in terms of compelling electric cars just yet, and the market in China is shifting rapidly. It's going to be not very many more years before owning a non EV in China is going to become difficult, problematic, maybe even banned outright. We know the sale of new non-green cars is already coming, and the idea that you would buy a gas car knowing that its expiration date is looming is just crazy.
Yeah. I don't know what the new stat is, but I know that in 2022, 53% of all battery electric vehicles sold were actually in China. And so the
Yeah.
Chinese market matters because they're the biggest, they're the leader, right? In terms of percentage of cars sold per year is electric vehicles. And these Chinese brands are now starting to take a foothold in Europe and other countries. They're starting to get out there and exporting as well. So how important is this by looking at the Chinese segment of how well Tesla's doing in there versus globally?
It used to be that the US was the bellwether. Whatever, as the US auto market went, so went an awful lot of the world. Maybe not all of it, but that is no longer the case. The leader is China. They make and buy the most cars. And they're going to, yeah, whatever they're going to adopt is what's going to be adopted. There are still factories from Chinese brands that are making cars in other parts of the world that are dirty dyno burners, but those will be phased out as well as soon as the battery supply chain can handle it, because every country that has any remote chance of being able to afford it has put in place some kind of green targets for vehicle emissions, and it's looming.
Okay, one last chart I want to show here very quickly. This is from UBS Research, and they showed that today Tesla is in the red at 2% of the market share globally. Chinese brands are 17%, and the global legacy is at 81%. But this is their projection of where it's going to go by 2030. I don't think it's going to be like this, but they're saying 8% for Tesla, 33% for Chinese, and you're going to see the global legacy fall 58. I think it's going to be much, much faster fall than that, and I think that Tesla is going to take much more share than just 8%.
Agree on all counts. UBS is great at predicting the present and terrible at predicting the future.
Thank you so much, Brian. I appreciate you. Okay, everybody, please follow Brian at YouTube at MyTeslaWeekend. He does very good deep dives into every single car brand. He has his Is This Car Brand Doomed or Not series that's been well received. Very, very sharp. Thank you so much, Brian. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Herbert.
If you can, please consider supporting this channel. It's a lot of work arranging all of these amazing interviews. I've created a website that is the most comprehensive resource for the Tesla investor. And you can get for free 3 milestone tables that list every major milestone Tesla has ever had since 2003. Please check it out. Simply go to my website at herbertong.com. Thank you very much, and let's get brighter.